and welcome to Making Sense of It with me, Emma Kenny.
And I'm Pete Smith.
So this is podcast number 9. I will stop at some point. When we're maybe on podcast 637, I may stop saying it because one, I'll forget, and secondly, it'll just be ridiculous to keep reminding people who are listening what number it is. But I think I'm saying it because I'm massively impressed that we've managed to keep doing this on time, getting it out there for our listeners, all 19 of them.
Yes,
That's right, we've got 4 more than last week.
Oh, you remembered it was 15.
Absolutely. I'm the numbers woman. I'm like the poor man's Carol Vorderman.
The poor man's Carol Vorderman.
Because I actually have no ability in mathematics, and we all are aware of that.
So what would your name be if you were a poor man's Carol Vorderman?
Emma Kenny.
Would it? No, you wouldn't make one up.
Emma McKenny Kenny.
Emma McKenny Kenny.
Yeah.
Or McKenny Kenny Vorderman.
Yeah, just Emma McKenny Kenny.
Yeah.
It's Emma McKenny Kenny. Emma, what's this simple equation? I don't know. Thank you, Emma.
Emma McKenny Kenny. Not Rita Sausage McSullivan. That doesn't make any sense, does it? But what would be a male Carol Vorderman's name? I don't know.
Douglas Sharples.
Douglas Sharples.
Douglas Sharples sounds like a clever but solid individual who's probably middle-aged, comes from, I would say, a middle-class family, who is definitely educated somewhere quite good and left with a plethora of education. But he's quite boring, which is why he has a love of mathematics. Not to say if anybody's listening to us who loves mathematics that you're boring. All I'm saying is, from my experience, the mathematical brain on a personality level can sometimes leave it a little bit questioning, that's all.
Yeah. And if your name is Douglas Sharples, get in touch.
Particularly, Douglas, if you are the male Carol Vorderman.
Yes, especially if the male Carol Vorderman, Douglas Sharples.
I'll have a syllable. No,
I'll have a consonant, please, Bob.
It's not a syllable.
I'll have a syllable, please. Hang on a minute, just one syllable, yeah. Hang on then. The. That's a word with a syllable.
The worst bit is, I've just actually evidenced why I'm the poor man's Emma McKenny Kenny.
I'll have a syllable, have 2 syllables, please. Hang on. One second.
What would you like, Emma?
Sausage.
I'd like a picture, please. A picture, and I'd like a kitchen utensil. We don't have any of those. Well, that's what I want, so don't ask me.
That's what I want, Bob. That's not even the right programme, is it?
No. When I was a kid.
That's Blockbusters.
When I was a kid, I used to go, after I went from primary school to high school, I used to go on the bus to high school because it was a big deal for me. I'd never been on a bus, and that's genuine, apart from the Asda bus. So I had been on a bus, it's a complete lie. Because when my mum was a young mother, she didn't have a car. My dad had a car for work because he was a sales rep, but she obviously didn't have a car, and we didn't have the money for a car. And I don't know whether anybody listening remembers this, and I am desperately showing my age now, but we used to get the free Asda bus.
I was just about to ask, actually, what is this Asda bus?
It was Asda, obviously, the supermarket chain, who used to put a bus on. Because obviously, in the day where a lot of people didn't have transport, if you wanted to make money, it was far better to fill a busload full of mums who were shopping for the families for the week and provide that service than to have people who, obviously, when you think about Asda supermarkets, they weren't necessarily local. They were kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So my mum would get me, my sister and my brother, like say in the holidays, when we were really little, big respect to my mum here, and she would take us all to Asda in Haslingden at the time. She would do her shopping and then she would carry it all back.
Asda in Haslingden?
It wasn't the one that's there now, it's a different one.
That's in Rawtenstall.
Rawtenstall, whatever.
Like 5-star.
Not that one, no, a much smaller one. Back in the day where QuickSave was doing well as well.
Oh, yeah.
And she would carry them back, but that's a story about a bus, so let's leave that there. It was blue and kind of a grey colour, the Asda bus, just to say that. It was, or a bluey-green colour as well.
Rings a bell, that.
It was, so that's what we used to do. But until I was like at high school, I'd never really had a regular bus route. It just wasn't what happened in my world. So I suddenly started having to get the bus to school, and that meant that I became au fait with public transport and felt quite confident. So my grandma lived in a place called Hollins, which is about another 4 miles away from where my school was. And I was really close to my grandma Bolton. I was close to both my grandmas. They were amazing, amazing women, completely different type of people. Like Grandma Taylor was so generous that we literally didn't know she was living in poverty because she was giving all her money away to people, including us. And my Grandma Bolton was your traditional grandma who made suet puddings and fed you constantly. Not to say Grandma Taylor didn't, she absolutely did.
Which one of your grandmas was it when your dad would pop round from work?
My Grandma Taylor, his mum.
And like he'd get in there and he'd only be there for like 5 minutes, and all of a sudden there'd be like a 3-course meal like that was prepared and on the table. It was like she had this magic way of cooking, but essentially she must have just cooked it, stuck it in the freezer, ready for those times where your dad would pop round or someone would pop round. There'd be a bread and butter pudding or a roly-poly, I think it was.
Or a family-sized trifle, which is one of her favourites. Here's a family-sized trifle. I used to go to my Grandma Taylor's on a Sunday because I worked at Wickes Building Supplies, Code 01, Portland Sand and Cement, and I would go... That was a code, by the way, if you were buying cement in Wickes.
It's code 00, it's code 004, you're getting robbed.
I think it's a page not found, isn't it?
Or is that Operation Osprey? Page not found.
On the computer, isn't it? Like a 004 or something. Or a 404. It's a 404, isn't
When I
it?
was at Toys R Us.
Again, another evidence of Emma McKenny and her mathematical skill reflection. It's a page 404.
I'd just be on the mic and I'd be like, we're being robbed.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, what it is, just digress. I'll go back to your story in a minute. I was in Tesco the other day, looking at all these names of supermarkets going on.
We're not sponsored.
No.
If Tesco, Asda or any of the other leading supermarkets would like to throw some food our way, some money our way, some drinks our way, or just, you know, some clothes maybe with the Freddie and whatever it is out of Sainsbury's, we'll take it.
Yeah, I've lost my way now. I was not talking. Oh, that's it. And I was in Tesco's.
Yeah.
And the mic came on and she said, to all staff, Operation Osprey is in effect.
Operation Osprey?
Yeah, and everyone sort of looked at each other and was like, Operation Osprey?
Was that kind of like a code
to
for...
like, you know, like...
We are being robbed.
Yeah.
We are being robbed.
Everybody out. No, and then
We have minutes to live. Minutes.
Can number 5 please come in? Your time's up.
Do you know what the worst bit is? If somebody said that, I'd have been the shop worker who would just have carried on, not even aware of what it was.
Someone in the queue turned around and said, "Oh, is that code for being robbed?" Because we had 004 when I worked in B&Q or somewhere. She said.
I don't remember that. I worked in B&Q,
robbed.
but I don't remember it. Yeah, I didn't pay any attention. It bored me. It really bored me working at B&Q. One of the worst jobs I've ever had, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It was mind-numbingly beyond boring and then some. But coming back to what you were just saying then about tannoys, that was part of my job.
Was it?
I loved that.
They had to remove the tannoy in Summerfield in Saltburn, my old hometown.
Because you made
because
jokes about
it was at the front of the store. So after the tills, where you've come up the tills and you're walking out, there was like a little cubicle there, and the amount of times that I've been in there, and like the best time was when I don't know, he was obviously on the beer and stuff, and he was very drunk, and he was just on the mic going, "It's free! Everything's free! Just take everything! It's free! Don't worry about paying anymore, everybody! Just take it up, pick it out, it's free!" And they all piled over to him trying to get him off. They never locked or anything, so they had to remove it. But yeah, I was in there a few times when I heard people shouting over it.
I was that voice that went, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The time is now 7:45 p.m. In 15 minutes' time, your Wickes Superstore will be closing. Could you please select your final purchases and make your ways to the checkouts? We wish you a safe journey home."
Oh my God.
And then I do it at 10:02 and 5:02.
I'm surprised you didn't get marriage proposals after that voice. That is one sexy voice, that. I've heard you do it before, but I can't wait to listen to see you doing on a microphone.
It was hilarious though, and I just really loved that job. It was the power, honestly. But going back to my grandma, because we procrastinated yet again. And actually we procrastinated from the first point, which is about the buses and going to my other nanas. But going to my Grandma Taylor's, she would take me in on a Sunday because Wickes Building Supplies was literally round her corner. And I would go and she would just have a vegetarian full-on Sunday roast for me. And then she would send me back to work with...
vegetarian? I thought you said for a second then while I was drinking my coffee. I thought you said a Victorian full Sunday roll.
I mean, it probably originated from there, but there was no meat involved.
Vegetarian.
And then she would send me back with flat scones, which were like a scone with loads of currants and stuff. You wouldn't have liked it, but flat. And then she'd butter them, and she'd send me back with about 7 of them. And I swear to you, I would manage somehow throughout that day to eat them all. I didn't share them. Sometimes I'd go, I'm just going to go and clean the staff room, and I'd just sit and eat them. My grandma was amazing. But going back to the original tack, which was getting the bus to my Nana Bolton's, which coincides with what we were talking about initially, I would go and see her on a Tuesday. And I did that from the day kind of I started my high school, probably a few weeks into it, to when I went to university. So I stayed went every single week on a Tuesday. And it was brilliant because she just fed me loads, number one. But we had this routine. I would go in and we would watch Countdown together. We would watch it together. My grandma was a massive quiz master. She lived till 95, and at the end of the day, her brain was still active.
So
at
Countdown
the end.
is the
Carol Vorderman, yeah.
Carol Vorderman.
So we would watch that, and then we would watch 15 to 1 when that started.
Right, I was going to say that.
And she would have loved all the ones that exist now, but the ones that I could master were 15 to 1, and I could also do Countdown. And I can still remember the joy on me and my grandma's faces where we would manage to do the maths question. Because inevitably, on a statistical level, there would be a point where the machine would calculate it and it'd be like 452, and there'd be a 4, a 150, and a 2, and you'd be like, yes! I'm a maths genius! This is probably a career for me.
But then the people on the TV, the ones that were really brainy and stuff, sometimes they'd get it wrong.
No, they never got it wrong. The ones I managed, literally none of them. No, in fact, the ones I managed, they would literally start the button and you just see them put the pen down. They'd done it. But my grandma, you know, even in her 70s, she could do the conundrum. She was incredible. She spent her life doing those word searches and crosswords and all of that. And she would inevitably...
It trains your brain, doesn't it?
She would inevitably ask me, what about this? I'm so bad at everything.
Crosswords get me. Because
what, like literally?
They get me. I mean,
I'm in my house. Knock on the door.
I mean, watching a TV. We knock on the door, go to the door. There's a masked crossword there.
You've got 5 minutes to tell me what I am.
I'm telling you, I'd be screwed if it was. What's that film? The Purge. Just all the crosswords would be after me. Don't leave everybody else alone. Crosswords at the door trying to get in.
Very cross.
Yeah, I just can't. I'm just not that good. You know, I think it's boredom. They bore me, crosswords.
Well, that's because you can't do them.
It's not. It's just because they bore me. It's like maths.
Whereas you can't do maths either.
I know. I used to be all right at maths, though.
You keep saying that, but I don't believe him at all. I don't believe him at all. Literally, you can ask a simple question and you just can't do it. So I don't see how you can suggest that you used to be good at maths, but now you've
forgotten.
Ask
a simple question then. Go on, let's prove it.
253 times 5.
1,200... 1,250, 1,300 and something.
Yes, that's right, 1,300 and something. Well done. I mean, just proving a point there massively. Anyway,
give me a pencil or a spray can and I'll sort you right out.
I know, you can do all that and I can't do that. So this week has been a full-on week. It's been a full-on week for me. It was International Women's Day.
Yes.
So that was amazing. But I woke up on Friday morning realising that I just need to detox. I need to detox so seriously. Like, for anybody who works in an area of the world where you have to network, where you have to kind of go to different meetings or debates or socialise because maybe you're seeking investment, like that's my life. My life is either doing my media work, which sometimes is just really comfortable, like doing this morning because I know everybody and they're the best people ever, to highly uncomfortable situations where I don't know what I'm doing and where I'm going and who I'm presenting to and what the people are going to be like, which is massively problematic for my social anxiety. Or I go and do debates places that I know are going to be fun, but nonetheless there's still the kind of consideration of not really knowing who the people are and worrying a little bit about that. Then there's the networking for investment because I need money for my companies, and that's just embarrassing because it is basically going, all right, mate, can I have some money? And nobody wants to do that. It's like corporate begging. Here, I might be able to give you some money back in the future, but maybe not. Maybe I'll lose it all. Can I have it anyway? That's the way that works. So I had like 2 full-on days of doing this. Although I did have fun because I met a guy who I'm working with quite a lot in production who's probably one of the best humans in the whole world. Shout out Mr. James Abadi, best human being in the world, best human being in TV.
I'm looking forward to meeting him.
He's awesome. But a lot of that time involved drinking. And I think anybody listening to this will know exactly what I mean about the irony of peer pressure as you grow up. Because I am a woman of a certain age, incredibly young age. But as that woman, I think I'm quite self-assured to some degree regarding my own needs, right? So I will often say to you, well, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, and I'm quite analytical. You put me in a new situation with a group of strangers who are having a drink, and I will be thinking all the way Diet Coke, Diet Coke, Diet Coke. Gets to me, Sauvignon Blanc. Have a Sauvignon Blanc. I don't even know why I've got this connection with Sauvignon Blanc. I don't even know why that's different to any other alcohol, but Sauvignon Blanc, I think it's probably not too expensive. I think it's probably not too affected. It seems like a good Sauvignon Blanc drink.
Do you remember that time we met that guy at the King's Cross Hotel, is it?
Yeah.
The big hotel there. The massive posh one, the Spice Girls did the video. And we were sat there and it was
January.
9 o'clock in the morning.
And we weren't
8:45.
drinking. We
were on a detox.
We were on a detox.
Yeah. And we got there and we sat down and he came in and he was a really nice guy. Yeah, he was on about like some business he was trying to set up. And he sat there and he went, right, so what are we drinking? Are you drinking? I love Manchester people because I know that they drink before. Like, and we just looked at each other and we were like,
I'll have a Sauvignon Blanc.
Sauvignon Blanc, please, yes. And he was like, I love Manchester people.
And we're on a massive detox in our heads, but we don't want to let him down.
Yeah, we looked at each other and they came over with these big glasses, you know, and we were like, oh dear. You know, and 8:45 in the morning when you're on a detox, you know, and you've got this wine, you had
What
to
are they
drink
doing
it.
serving it at that time?
I don't know.
That was so bad, and it was exactly the same. I just went on this ridiculous rampage where I met Public Health England at 1 p.m. They were taking me out for dinner because basically they want to make me write for them and do some PR stuff because it doesn't cost them any money because I might be writing for Closer magazine, and obviously if it's good information to get out to the public, of course I'll write about it, no problem at all.
Public health, and you know,
absolutely.
Someone like yourself is you know.
That's great, and I'm getting free meal. So they meet
They give
me.
you free meals.
I'm literally sitting there, right, and I get there early because I get there early for everything. I am like the woman who gets there within half an hour before.
Yes, I'd just like to. Yeah, Emma is super.
I have an anxiety about being late for anything. Being on time to me is being late. If you're on time, you're late. You should definitely have shown me some respect and turned up 3 minutes early because then we're on the same page. My brother drives. I drive him mad because he gets there on time and I'm just constantly like, I can't believe he's just got here on time. And he's like, that's what on time is. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you just get there late.
He's very good at getting here late.
He's very laid back. He's so laid back, he's on the floor. Yeah. But I went in, and again, it's this beautiful place, and it's not somewhere I would ever go to eat because you know me, I'm bargain basement. When we go to London, we're like, where's the falafel for £5?
Oh, yes.
And that's where we are.
That's the best stuff, man.
It's where we don't know whether it's the best stuff, but the fact it's cheap
it's, you know,
makes us feel like it's the best stuff, and we are staying with that.
But you're getting falafel from a Turkish, you know, cafe. It's,
yeah,
you know.
You shouldn't be eating probably anything for £5 in London where you can sit in,
true.
but we do it. It doesn't matter. That's the key. We're vegetarian. We can pretty much eat anything and live. So I'm sat there in this quite palatial place. All of the waiters and waitresses are dressed in this really weird, like, outfit. It's odd. So that's how posh it is. The odd designed kind of outfits. They look really strange, but are very
like sort of
lovely.
shirts backwards, tie backwards, and you know, proper, yeah.
Just gimp
so
suits,
posh
full gimp suits. That's it, full gimp suits.
And we're so
masks.
posh to just make noises.
Yeah,
You can't
that's
speak.
It was mime. It was all done by mime. That was it.
They're all dressed as Marcel
It
Marceau.
was absolutely. It was surprisingly easy to order as well. Just like pointing, a lot of pointing involved. You know, the wine was harder because obviously Sauvignon Blanc is a difficult one to get across, but we managed it. But anyway,
I'd love to see the mime for that.
no,
This is a podcast. And not
stop
everything.
it! Right, get back on track. So this guy comes over, and again, I just wanted water. So he said, what do you want to drink? Because I'm thinking I'm meeting Public Health England. Clearly, I'm going to drink water. So I went, I'll have some water. And he went, okay.
Or a green juice.
And he looked at me as if to go, and then so I just went, and I'll have a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. And then he went, large? And I went, yes, large. And again, so then I'm texting somebody going, I can't believe I'm having Sauvignon Blanc at this time in the day when I've got a public health meeting with Public Health England. Anyway, they come over. Unfortunately, it was fine. They came and they weren't weird about it. And then the worst bit was they said, what are you drinking? And I went, oh, Sauvignon Blanc. And they ordered a bottle. So
were they drinking as well?
They did drink, actually. Yeah. So at the end of that, I'm like, okay, I need to not drink now. I've got a really important debate this evening.
So they were following your lead, you see. Thinking,
exactly. They're peer pressured by me, feeling peer pressured by the restaurant. So it was one of those restaurants as well. Just got to say as a side note, it was very, very nice. But I had sweet corn fritters, which are delicious. It was 16 quid and I got 3 small fritters. I mean, 16 pounds for 3 small, you might get as an entree at an average kind of Thai restaurant fritters. It was 16 quid.
Did you accidentally mime I just want 3 though.
No, the worst part of it was that because I don't like finishing my food, because I always think you should leave a certain amount of food on your plate. It's just a thing I have, a method I have.
Yeah.
I had to leave one of them. So I
wasn't there.
Didn't eat one of the... It's ridiculous, but that's the way I always apply that rule, that you're probably getting a third too much food. That's the way I live my life with food, right?
What did they have?
One of them had sweet corn fritters, and she left half of one, and the other one had something like haddock, I believe. But obviously, she got a bigger portion, and somebody near me got a really huge portion of something that looked like beans. And I did feel a bit upset that maybe I hadn't gone for the risotto, but never mind. That's as a side note.
But then you would have felt like really full and like.
Well, I wasn't eating again.
Like,
I wasn't eating again, so that was it. That was what I was having that day. So anyway, I leave the restaurant, and then I go and I'm meeting this producer and director, and I go back to my hotel, get myself ready for the evening because I've got this debate on. And he arrives, and we've only got an hour. We go over to the pub, and he's like, "What are you drinking?" Sauvignon Blanc, obviously. So again, Sauvignon Blanc. So, and he's like completely northern. He drinks his pint, gets another one, gets me another glass. Now, I didn't finish that one.
Is that James you're on about?
Yeah, I didn't finish that one. But I still had a fair amount. Well, this is where it gets problematic. Because there is only one thing worse than peer pressure in my life. Free shit. That is my Achilles heel.
Yeah.
It is my Achilles heel. I get to the debate, and it's with Curious Kittens, Killing Kittens, who are the sex parties for people who are interested in sharing partners or having kind of consenting experiences with other adults.
Adult play, that's what we call it.
Whilst I was not involved with any of that stuff, though I'm completely for whatever makes you happy, I was there to debate women's roles, looking at the future of AI and how sex dolls might influence the future of women's positions in society. So it's a really important thing. I'm with the most amazing Dr. Kate Devlin, incredible woman, very, very much involved at Goldsmiths with all of that development. So it's an exciting night. You know, I'm there with interesting people who, on a sexual level, are very liberated. That excites me because I just think that that's so important that we have really grown-up discussions about it. I'm working with somebody who's really inspirational. Kate Devlin's a really inspirational woman and a really lovely woman as well. And obviously, all these people have come because they're kind of curious about lots of different things, probably from a sexual perspective, but certainly for the AI perspective.
Because you have Killing Kittens, don't you, the main parties, but then you have Curious Kittens, which is for people who are a little bit more curious and want to see things about discussions, workshops.
I think they want to see the seediness taken out of sex, you know, the fear and the shame and all of that stuff that
which I think is absolutely brilliant, like you're saying. I think it opens up
70% women.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah, it's all female-led.
Yeah.
You know, the rules.
And Emma Sale, who runs it, is absolutely amazing.
That's the way it should be, that the rules are set by the women, and that's what it says on the website. The rules are set by the women.
But you see, what I've done quite a lot of research into things like swinging, as you know, and I don't think that's the case most places. But with Emma Sale and with Killing Kittens, that is absolutely it. And when I was there, probably 90% of the people there were female. It was incredible.
Yeah. No, she's an incredible one.
I'm nervous because I'm kind of going into this experience. I'm there to defend what I think is really important, which is I don't believe that we should develop sex dolls. I don't believe that we should encourage that kind of thing. I think we're not in a position yet where we've figured out and mastered human relationships, and that was kind of my argument, which we'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes. But I walk in and it's free sex on the beaches. I've never even had sex on the beach. It's one of those cocktails I'd never asked for because I always feel like it's a bit of a, you know, I'll have a sex on the beach.
Peach schnapps and vodka and...
I think there was vodka in it.
Yeah, there's vodka.
That's my poison vodka,
peach schnapps, orange and something else.
But it was free.
Grenadine, I think it is.
Is it?
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, it's
free.
They're
pretty nice. They're pretty nice. They just taste like pop, you know, like...
They did. They did taste like pop, which again, unfortunately, led to me having 7.
7?
I had 2 before. I had 2 during. I had 2 after. And I was given a 7th that I didn't drink. And I wasn't drunk because my adrenaline was just completely firing up. And it was only when somebody gave me a glass of Sauvignon Blanc that I took a sip and thought, God, I need to not do this. I need to stop. I'm not a good drinker, as you know. I can't handle it. I can handle certain things, but certainly not mixing. Oh my God, I literally set my alarm. A little bit of a life hack tip here. Set my alarm for 2:30 in the morning so that I could wake myself up, drink lots of water and take loads of painkillers. And guess what? That's what I did. I'm not saying I felt fantastic in the morning. I did still feel a little bit on the ropey side and felt like I didn't want to leave my hotel room, but I didn't feel desperately unwell as I had 2:30 in the morning.
It's a good job I wasn't there.
Oh, but Pete, you're fine. You'd have just rolled out of bed and been like, oh, I feel a bit
We wouldn't
rough.
have gone.
No, but you'd have been like, I feel a bit rough. And then you'd have gone and had a massive breakfast and been fine.
We'd have just kept on drinking.
I wouldn't have kept on drinking. I can't do it as well, you know. You'd have probably ended up with the curious kittens, being curious knowing you. But I
What's this? What's that?
Yeah.
What's this? What's this thing?
Yeah. But yeah, long story short, I woke up the next day just feeling that sense of, God, I just need to detox. I really do. I don't know how people keep it up because I have to do quite a lot of that stuff. It's learning to moderate because that's how you end up functionally alcoholic. That's how, when your lifestyle encompasses a certain pattern and you have to be with people and put yourself in situations that might be a bit scary. Obviously, alcohol acts as like an anaesthetic against that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
You kind of go, all right, I'm okay, bit of Dutch courage. But if you're doing that most of the time, oh, I felt like a bloated mess the next day.
I mean, it must be difficult for people that live in London that are surrounded by that sort of situation because you do see, I mean, a little bit in Manchester, but nothing nowhere near as much.
The drinking culture isn't the
drinking
same.
culture in London, it's especially in the summertime, it's everybody goes to the pub after work.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not everybody. I mean, if everybody went to the pub after work, it'd be like, you know...
Pubs would still be open.
Yeah, it'd just be like, you know, everything would be a pub. Everybody would work in a pub because all the pubs would just be there. There'd be everybody, you know...
Everybody couldn't work in a pub because then they'd have no customers.
It'd be a massive pub, wouldn't it?
Again, this is why you're not Carol Vorderman's person because, again, on a mathematical level, we're just failing.
Yeah, everybody couldn't be in a pub at the same time because every building would have to be a pub then.
Oh, it's funny though. We were kind of talking about the whole debate of that AI scenario was, could women be replaced?
Oh, is that what the actual...
Yeah. So
Right.
the premise of it that Emma introduced was, obviously there's so many new developments in sex toys, in the sex industry. The most popular sex toys in Japan are the sex dolls. The most popular sex doll is a 7-year-old kid.
Oh, was it similar to because you did a podcast and it was My Dad Wrote a Porno podcast,
It was like that, but a lot more in depth. And also Kate Devlin obviously is in AI
so,
tech
yeah,
development.
it was a bit more the academic like level of, you know...
And also the fact that we had kind of slightly different views. Kate really loves the whole idea around developing lots of fantastic sex tech, whereas I, to some degree, feel that we have to have limits. You know, I posed some examples that are about human self-regulation because, like anybody, you know, I think that as a human being, I have a naturally hedonistic streak. You have a naturally hedonistic streak. And I think most human beings have got that to some degree. Some people haven't necessarily had an opportunity to activate it, but once you've activated it, you can't help but just know that little bit about you. So I work really heavily around never allowing myself to lose sight of how disastrous that streak could be for me. And the reason for that is that if I didn't, then I'd probably do things constantly that were terrible for me, but that might feel good. So what my argument is always about is just because we can have it doesn't mean we should have it. And just because you can develop something doesn't mean in the long term it's going to be good for our society. And as noted, what we were just saying there, the fact that the best-selling sex doll is a 7-year-old child in Japan, that is terrifying. Now, it's illegal to import that doll. It's not illegal to own it. Isn't that interesting? It's illegal to bring it into the country. It's not illegal to actually have it. Now, that means that if you're found in your home with it, it's not illegal. But if you're found bringing it to your home, it is illegal. Strange.
It's you know, but you're going to get like different sides of the argument. I know which side of the argument I'm on, and I'm not for them all. You know, I don't think there's... I do understand the arguments that people are going to come to you with, and they're going to come with, yeah, well, it stops them from doing things, or people are lonely, or they want to just, you know what I mean? But I just think, we're humans, and humans, whatever predilection we are, we have to be with other humans as, you know, that's just the way I feel. It's just my opinion, and I know that people have their own opinions, but I just don't get it, especially the 7-year-old. I mean, that is just, I'm sorry, but that's like a non-functioning paedophile saying, oh, I'm just looking, I'm not doing anything. You know, they're actually following through and having something which resembles a 7-year-old kid, and then having sex with that doll is it's over my head. It's like...
And bear in mind the fact they've got frigid settings, which are meant to stimulate rape.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but that's even like the sex dolls. I've been there on the sort of situation where we've chatted about the sex robots and stuff. And... you know, there's no argument from my side of things. I just can't see an argument for people wanting to have a sex doll, whether it's got 3 knobs and 12 tits, or and it can do things. I mean, there's those crude ones that those people are making. I mean, those guys that are making. One was on this morning with you, and it does have that frigid setting, And I'm sorry, but the guy was just like, he was just a bit. I wouldn't say weird, because that'd be nasty sex. I don't know him, but his sexual preference was with the robot, and it was just when it was the noises it made and the way it looked, it was just scary. And I don't think it's anything to do with the sex robot. I think it's what he's into. I think he's into that, It's like
paraphilia.
Like sex with objects. It's like the
people who fall in love with bridges.
Yeah, and we watched the documentary, didn't we, where that guy said he hypnotised his girlfriend, and he comes back from 10, and then by
she
the time
becomes
he
a
gets to
robot.
1, she turns into a robot, and she's it's just like...
Well, that's just like exaggerated role play.
Yeah, that's what it is, And I just don't think there's... Like you say, we haven't mastered our own human relationships
That's
yet.
the thing. We haven't mastered
there's
it.
so many things for us to be able to...
So what we're doing is we're moving away from it. So if you look in Japan, what we know in Japan is that men are struggling to have relationships with real women. They actually choose to have relationships with AI. Now, we have to look at the trends, because even though that's a very different culture, what we see on a tech level is that's what comes across here. So that's something that on a future dynamic level we're going to be doing. And for me, it is that whole issue regarding, well, you know what? As a human being, courting human being relationships, that's what keeps us healthy. That's what makes us live a long time. But the arguments that counter it are, well, if I'm severely disabled, now, I get that. And also, if I'm somebody who is high-level autism and I just can't have those kind of relationships. But again, I think what we should be doing is getting tech to work with that so that they can forge and form those relationships. I think that's where we need to go with it. And I kind of potentially was like looking and thinking about all those counter-arguments. And one of the things that, again, is a classic is what you brought up, which is people are saying, listen, if he wants to have sex with a child, if we can give him a sex doll that is a child, that's going to make him feel satisfied, then that's got to be better than allowing him to have sex with a child, or obviously not allowing, but allowing that to happen, because that's that behaviour pattern. Now, I think that's bullshit. And the reason I think it's bullshit is very much based in evidence. In the 70s, when you raped somebody or you were a high-level sex offender, you were offered the chance to have chemical castration, or you were forced into it. So there was a period of time where you were forced into it. You can still have chemical castration now, and you can elect for it. And some sex offenders actually take it. But if you were forced into it, what they found was, yes, those men didn't have sex with children anymore. They murdered them. Because the truth is, it's not about sex, it's about power. When you rape a woman, it's not about getting off because you're having sex with a woman, it's that you are violating a woman without her consent. It's the same when it comes down to paedophilia. Yes, some of them want to believe they're having loving relationships with the child, but it's still a dominating relationship. And a child cannot give you permission based to do that. Therefore, you absolutely know that legally, morally, and all of those extra collateral volume around your discussions with your own brain, you know that they're fake, because we have a law here and it's very clear as to why. But the problem is, the more that you legitimise it and go, okay, you can't have sex with a 7-year-old girl, but you can have sex with a 7-year-old girl doll. That's going to incite behaviour. That's not going to subdue it.
It's going to make them actually... They're going to get sick of that dog.
You're going to want a real experience. Absolutely.
That's where what I was saying about the argument. You know what argument they're going to come to you with, but then these people can use it and it'll stop them from doing that. That's a defunct argument, because, as you've just pointed out there, that's the way it leads to. I want more. I'm sort of numb to that now. What we're going to do?
Exactly.
I can get another one.
And that's what we see in pornography. We see that in pornography. We see pornography. You start off looking at soft porn. You might be a little bit into seeing somebody get a blowjob, and then all of a sudden, a year down the line, you're looking at face abuse. You're looking at violent, submissive women being abused facially. That's because you need to be titillated more and more and more and more, which is why you should always limit that kind of behaviour. That's coming back to that whole idea of the hedonistic streak. You should always limit that behaviour. And when I think about that kind of ridiculous argument, and we have those arguments because they are self-fulfilling, They go, right, well, I really need to think about how I can have more of what I want in my life, and I need to not think about really the implications or the social, pro-social behaviours that I should be emitting. I can just go, look, well, we can do this. Let's do this. And that really freaks me out, because on a human level and on an instinct level, it kind of counters what we need to be doing with society to actually make a positive difference. You know, at a time where we have the highest levels of homelessness on the streets than we've had for so long, we are ploughing money into things like sex AI and the industries around it, because it sells, But what are we actually doing about our society, where it counts?
I genuinely don't agree with anybody ploughing money into sex AI. I think AI itself is a fantastic thing. I mean, that's a whole new podcast in itself, talking about AI. I mean, where you've got to put a, I wouldn't say a limit on it, because there's never going to be a limit to AI, but you've got to put security measures in, because as we all know fine well, that AIs are talking to each other already and making languages up. And what is it, the played chess against like 20 chess champions, the world champions. This new AI played chess against them simultaneously and beat them within minutes, seconds, without minutes it was, without any hassle at all. And this is 20 world champions together playing chess against this thing. And it just beat them, and then it learned more. And it also played the what's that Japanese or Chinese game? Rush or Go. It's called Go. Well, Japanese, I think it's Chinese, I think it is. And everybody, when you're a kid, plays it. And if you get to a point where you're that good, they take you out of school and put you in Go school. And you get
I'd have never got to go school.
Yeah, I know, I wouldn't.
I'd have got to went.
There's like 200 million ways of winning, And this certain AI has mastered it and it's mastered like thousands of years worth of Go playing, and it can beat every world champion and every, it's just, and it's learning. It learns, And I understand that AI is going to be fantastic for many things, But I don't understand why you'd plough money into the sex AI. I don't.
Because it's one of the biggest industries, isn't it?
Yeah, I understand.
And it's a bit like, I am the first person, and me and Kate were kind of debating this. I was like, there is not a sex toy I have not owned. Like, when we met each other, you had never had any involvement with that kind of stuff.
No.
And I turned up with bags.
Not for wanting.
I know, but I turned up with bags of stuff, didn't I? And you were just like, what are these?
Yeah.
And
it was a rucksack.
Yeah, it was. I had a rucksack of sex toys, and I'm the first person to say that. And I think that any woman and man listening to this, if you've never engaged with sex toys, if you've never actually bought yourself them, then you are absolutely missing out, because they are brilliant to use with your partners.
That's what I mean. I think people, a lot of people out there won't really sort of realise or think about having it with your partner.
It's funny, isn't
I
it?
think they just think, these sex toys just for masturbation.
Got to hide them in the drawer.
Yeah, and it's like, but no, I mean, we won't go into what we had, but my gosh, yeah.
A veritable plethora.
Oh, it was brilliant, and we're not ashamed to say that. It's healthy, it's adult play, and we're growing up.
Also, I teach lots of people around the sex area and sex play, so adult play is really important. So I have a no filter dialogue regarding sex and relationships, because I want every human being to have the most fantastic, engaged, lovely sex lives that feel empowering. Exactly. And I think in a time where, particularly for women, we are seeing a rage, and I said that when I was talking on Russell Brand's podcast. I said that one of the things that I see in pornography these days is rage. Like, there is a subtext of she wants it. Yeah. She wants it, and she's going to enjoy it. And if she doesn't enjoy it, she's going to get taught a lesson. Yeah. And that worries me massively. So my work is always around the countering that and helping men and women to feel that they can be empowered and loving, and they can get the best out of each other without any of that need for that kind of abuse. And also so that men aren't so reliant on pornography, and women don't feel threatened by pornography as well, because I don't think that pornography is a terrible thing. I just think it needs to be put in its place, and I think that men need to learn not to just use that for masturbation. I think that women actually need to engage with men on a level where they can all contribute to a really healthy engagement with whatever makes them happy, but makes them not threatened.
Yeah, I think that, more women should get involved in making pornographic films, because there is some fantastic women out there, directors, that are doing pornographic films. And, I've seen a couple, and they are better because they're just better. They just seem to know what they're doing a bit better. Where men have got this, like, I'm not to say they're not chauvinistic or misogynist, but it is quite sort of, it's always been, is what we do, what we're going to do. There was that, what's that program, that film on Netflix, the series, what was it called, with Jake Gyllenhaal's sister, Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Good. Yeah, I've forgotten
the name of it. It's really good. And she was a prostitute, but then it's just started to get exciting because she's become a porn director.
Yeah.
And I just think that, Yeah, I think it's about, it'll be nice to see. I know there is a lot of women out there doing it, and I know
There's a few, but again, the argument would be that mostly it would be only women who watch that, and a lot of women don't watch porn. My thing is more that, men tend to, from an early age, use pornographic material just because it makes sense. It means that they can see visually stimulating information, and that helps with their orgasm. But if you have a great sex life, you don't. Now, see, that's the big thing, and you used a lot of pornography before we were together. That was your outlet, wasn't it?
It was. I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm a full-blooded male.
But also, you were massively dissatisfied.
Oh, very. Yeah. I mean, I literally didn't. Weren't satisfied in any way whatsoever.
Well, you just didn't have sex because your wife wouldn't have sex with you.
No, and I wasn't allowed to be who I am really.
So the point is,
not that I go on set fire to people, run them over in the car, anything like that. It's just I'm not like a lunatic, but it's very. I was sexually liberated when I met you.
But the irony is that you used pornography for that frustration level and to get yourself some kind of sexual stimulation.
Yeah.
And what my argument is, in loving and caring and grown relationships, you have a great sex life, and that subdues the need to utilise that pornography. So the irony is that pornography has its place. It might be that occasionally you think, let's shove a little bit of porn on and get it on together. But very rarely would you or I think about watching porn because we have a healthy, happy sex life, and we don't have any of those urges because we are satisfied.
Oh, you've got it in 4D, haven't you?
But my argument is that every human being should be entitled to those type of relationships, because sex on a functional level, forget the spiritual level, forget the real physical connection that occurs between two loving human beings, which is absolutely amazing.
The animalistic level.
The animalistic, instinctual level. It's functional. It's what we need. Men feel compelled. It's within their bone structure. It's absolutely hardwired. And ironically, women really do want to have sexual experiences and pleasure themselves. And often women will masturbate far more than they'll have sex because they're not satisfied in their sex lives. So what I was talking about in a very convoluted way there is that, I have no issue with the whole area of AI technology when it comes down to pleasuring yourself and getting sex toys that can work in tandem.
Like Super Ones. It's like that website that started years and years and years ago. I'm going to swear here, so it's going to sound awkward. Fuckingmachines.com. And people just used to have a laugh show on it, but that's been going for years, and that is like a really sort of low level, like loads of inventors and scientists, or they call themselves that, making machines for women. I don't know if it's for men, but for women, which are like massive machines with dildos and all different things on that do different things for women to please themselves. So I guess the AI things that you're talking about would be much sort of up there, ones that will send shockwaves through the body when you've reached climax, or
exactly. So things that can enhance a couple or an individual's experience, but that don't denote the physical being.
So I guess there'll be something like that'll learn, because if it's AI,
well, that's one of the things they're working on.
What you like, and then.
So Dr. Kate Devlin was talking about that. She was talking about how the feedback, you can actually feedback information through the technology they're developing, which can make a huge difference.
It's only going to get to a point where it's going to have to be. I mean, this is talking like science fiction world here, it's going to have to be mixed with organic, because smells and tastes and things like that can never ever be
replicate.
Yeah.
But also the thing about human beings
of sex, the smells and the tastes and the touches of like
and also relationships are complex. They're fundamentally complex. So they make us engage with lots of different emotional variables. They make us grow in lots of different ways. They challenge us. They manipulate us at times. They make us afraid at times. But they're all very human experiences. If we can just control something that looks like us and that acts in a way that really turns us on, people will be like, oh, what's the harm in that? But it's like you remove the one thing that makes them human, which is the kind of brokenness. And I always bring back to the brokenness and messiness of human beings, because I think that's what makes us amazing. But I have so many fears around that. And do you know what the irony is? Nothing I can say will stop it. I know it's happening. I know it's happening. It's not going to happen in my lifetime. Even in 50 years' time, we'll have technology that's functional in that way. It's not going to be very human.
I think, I'll make a prediction here. I think that what AI will turn into eventually is it'll gradually go down the organic route, but I think with like mixing it with that, and I think it's that same old when people say about getting microchips put in certain places of your body for you to be able to read text or whatever, but I think it'll be something like that. I reckon it'll go to like having a microchip around the penis area or the vagina area, so it won't be like Viagra and stuff, it'll be able to get you erect, like just by thinking a thought or pressing a button, or you know what I mean. So I think that sort of, and then it'll learn certain things about your body and. And send, I don't know, I wonder if it's going to be something like that.
I think that would be like amazing, because that kind of incubates the reality of your experience as an individual with another individual, hopefully.
So like you become like a cyborg, won't you, or a hybrid.
But that's happening, because obviously we're all going to get chips in our things where we can pay things just by putting our wrists
or speaking
somewhere.
Like that, you know.
Exactly, that is going to happen. And there's nothing I can say or do that's going to change that. It's going to happen. I'm kind of a bit pissed that I'm not going to be around in 1,000 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite excited to watch the sort of the sort of AI and the organics thing. It's like a mad film from like the 90s, like, you know, the crazy games you'd be able to play, and you know, imagine like, you know, having the phones and like just speaking like that. Hello.
Oh, there'll be a time, won't there, where people will look back from the future and go, wow, look at those in the 2000s and whatevers. Those guys were driving around in metal machines full of highly flammable liquids at high speeds.
Yeah.
I mean,
I genuinely
think
that,
about
I
it.
genuinely think that is the organic and the AI stuff is going to blend, and that's going to be like, I mean, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000,
but that's
5,000
human
years.
enhancement, isn't it?
Yes,
that's
but that's, you know, and then, but with that, in 500,000 years, if the Earth's still here, people are going to evolve around that. You know, it's going to, because evolution takes control, doesn't it? And,
the thing is with that, though, if the only way that would ever work is if the whole of the world, as far as the governments, become an altruistic government with no power battles and war, because otherwise all of what you've just said will be completely used against each other in wars. It will become a problem in humanity. It will separate classes.
Yeah, but this is the problem, you say, about the AI and about the security side of it. You've got to, there's things can always go, this you see in the yang, isn't it? Things can always go to the dark side. You know, this is what the film Star Wars is built on, the Jedis, you know, it's at the dark side and the light side. You know, you can use things for the benefit of the people, altruistic, that get people... I mean, you could have chips that look after your health. You know, things inside you that, you know, if they see cancer forming, it kills it immediately. That sees a disease forming, it doesn't, you know, which will then make people live to 200. You know, it's... But
and
then
that's the overcrowding, though.
Yeah.
And then what happens then? How do you start to manage that? Do you give people a finite time before they get put down?
Yeah.
Is there a position where you have to manage society in that way? Will it come down to a position where you can't have children for a certain amount of time?
Well, I guess that's the sort of space station, sort of new planet looking. I mean, we're going beyond, you know, some sort of, you know, crazy deep thought thinking now about like the future. But I guess, you know, the probability of that happening, being able to live on, like, I wouldn't say Elysium, like I mentioned before on one of the podcasts, but I mean, that would be fantastic. But that is the type of thing. I mean, space stations now are being able to handle themselves, you know, people are up there and they're obviously doing tests within those space stations to see if bigger space stations, you know, and it's not like, you know, you could have, you know, 100 space stations spaced on the Earth, in the Earth's orbit with, you know, I don't know, 1 million people on each. I don't know, you know how big they are, but that's
you wouldn't want to be on the first, would you? You just know there were loads of problems, loads of teething stuff, people just dying everywhere.
You'd go on the Pioneer Wall, though, wouldn't you?
That's right.
You know, brick in the wall, the Pioneer Wall.
There'll all be one of those, won't
There's
there?
Grandad. My granddad was on the first space station ever. Yeah, I bet he enjoyed himself. No, he's on the wall, though.
He was dead within weeks.
No.
You know, it's that kind of thing that will occur, because that's always the way when you're kind of using new technologies. There's always disasters. But I don't know, it kind of concerns me about the whole manifestation of possibility that's beyond my comprehension, because then I think maybe we're just all clouding that with our avoidance of what's really happening, which is our planet is dying, we're overcrowded, and we're really messing up. And actually we're in a position where socially we should be able to look after everybody. Everybody should be able to eat. There shouldn't be diseases all over the world. We should be able to work with each other in that way. And actually there's been no connection, just fracturing in my lifetime. That's been my lifetime, just a series of fractures in different dynamics all over the world. So how the hell we're ever going to get to a point where we all neutralise that? I hope we do, and I would love to think that with technology, one of the things that they might be able to do is look at genetic formation of personality and how we can maybe alter that so that people don't walk around. Now, that's a big ethical question, and actually ethics committees everywhere would be like, no way, we're not doing that idea of making people good, because you can't do that. That manipulates and that affects. But actually, in the long term, if that's the only way that we can work as a planetary experience together, it might
unless
happen.
Everybody dies. It's not like you're not killing anybody, are you? You're just helping people with, the personality trait, which is a chemical imbalance, really, in a lot of...
Well, nature nurture is a big deal, isn't it? You've got a temperament, you're born with temperament, so there is absolutely a dynamic to your temperament. There's nothing you can do about it, but you can modify it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing you can do about what you're born with. You might be born shy, you can modify it. You'll always be shy, but you can modify the behaviour so it works for you. That's kind of what I've done in my life.
Yeah.
Or you're born really confident, and again, you can modify your behaviour so you don't come across as arrogant. All those things kind of are possibly manipulated and manageable, but you definitely have an inbuilt kind of connection with your DNA. And that's bringing me on to something that I think we need to tell our listeners, all 19 of them, maybe 20 of them this week, that last week we talked about the fact that we were going to start saying, what were we going to start saying? Yes. We were going to start saying yes to things. On the 21st of March, Pete and I will be jointly presenting a little YouTube show together. That's what we've said yes to. It's got animals in it. It's got people we're interviewing in it. It's got a proper studio set. And he and I, we didn't go, ooh, let's not do that. We went, yes. And we're doing it. Scripts have come today. We're going to be in that studio all the way through it. We're going to be thinking, why have we said yes to this? But it doesn't matter because we're en route.
So I'm having to practice my... It's like I'm going to practice like my children's BBC presenting skills. And I'm like, wow, last time I did something like that, I was like Peter Pan in Peter Pan, or Aladdin in Aladdin. And don't forget, I sang to tell 12,000 people, Good King Wenceslas.
Yes, Pete's memories are strange, where he reckoned that thousands of people were in his local town hall.
I've won dance competitions.
Oh, you have won dance competitions?
Breakdancing, I've won art
So we might do some of that in it as well.
Yeah.
You might just throw in the odd, kind of movement in it.
Yeah.
But that's our first yes. And I've done a second yes as well. I don't like social experiences where I don't know anybody, but I have to get investment for my company. So I went and had a chat with somebody the other day when I was out doing that talk who happens to do investment. And I said, can we go for lunch? And they said yes. So it was me saying yes to doing something uncomfortable that in turn got a yes off another person.
Absolutely.
So that's two things that I've said yes to. That is groundbreaking for me. I don't know what our next yes is going to be.
I don't know. I mean, I've been exploring certain things, but I'm coming up against brick walls, and they sort of involve like martial arts and stuff. I'm quite inspired by my children, you see, doing jiu-jitsu, and then obviously Russell Brand. I've seen him doing it, and it's like, yeah, you're never too old. Because I used to do a bit of Jeet Kune Do and some Wing Chun, and I was getting pretty good at it, but life takes over sometimes, and I found that I was quite calm when I did it, so I've been trying to find some form
Yes, we'll do another podcast on Pete's inability to contain rage at some point, but yes, you do need to do something to make yourself calm, don't you, dear?
I do, my lovely wife, I do.
But we have to say yes to things together.
We do, I know, so I'm looking for you as well.
Yeah.
Zip wiring off the top of the Empire State Building.
I'd happily do that. No problem at all. But saying yes is what it's all about.
It is saying yes. Challenging.
We've also said yes to having our downstairs toilet done and tiled, and our entry area of the hall, which might to you guys seem like something a bit weird because it's just kind of DIY and stuff. But the truth is, I don't like spending money on anything. And really, I like to have it in the bank because secretly I have a sub-fear of the fact that I'm going to lose all my work and literally never be able to feed the kids again. But instead I've gone, yes, let's do that. Let's go ahead and make some changes, even though part of me doesn't want to let go. And let me just say something else before we go. Before we finish this, let me go.
Go on.
If you are a joiner, a bricklayer,
yes,
a carpet fitter, if you are an individual who works in trades, could you please get in touch and tell me this? Why do work people go into your home and make a decision on what they will charge you based on what they think you have? Because this is something that seems to be happening a great deal right now. Things that shouldn't cost very much suddenly seem to have a massive increase in price when they walk in our house. And my house is not palatial at all, but it's bigger than the old house that I had, where we would get average types of prices. Yeah. When I'm getting quoted £3,550 to hang doors.
Oh, 11 doors.
11 doors.
And these doors only oak veneered, which only cost
They're cheap.
just over £100 each, these doors, bear in mind. So 11 of them, okay? So I'm not sure why
£3,550.
And the doors are the largest standard size. So,
I can't believe we're having this, but this is how much it's annoyed us.
Well, yeah.
So we said no to that. That was our no for the week.
Well, as he was walking out the door, he turned on me because he saw the house and he was like, it's going to be expensive, you know. And I was like,
I know. I know. And don't get me wrong, the person who's coming to do our bathroom, etc., is a friend of my parents, and he's very reasonable because he's a friend of a friend.
He's time served as well, you know. He's done it for years. And it's like,
I don't know how we've gone to that at the end, but that's our no for today. That's our no.
Yeah. So even so, we're saying yes.
So
said no to that.
We've covered a lot.
We have.
I feel like we've covered a lot today.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that talk about, I think, the AI. I mean, we could go a lot deeper on that. As you say, the debates can go on forever. And we're saying we're not against certain parts of it, but we are against, in some ways.
We've got to get Kate Devlin on. She's absolutely amazing. She's a really amazing woman. We have got a guest coming up soon. We're very excited.
Yeah.
We've got a guy called Andy coming who's going to just talk about lots of different things from LGBTQ rights through to his personal experiences of what he thinks about fandom and just lots and lots of interesting things. That's going to be in a couple of weeks' time, but we are excited because it's really nice to have a guest.
Yes.
And even though he doesn't drink lots of coffee and he suggested only Diet Coke, well, actually, no, he didn't suggest Diet Coke. He suggested any, but I drink Diet Coke, so that's the one it's going to be. It was nice to think that we're going to be introducing people into our little world. And we kind of have been thinking about, there are some celebrities that have said they'll come on. And as I've said, we're going to have True Geordie on, who is just such an genuinely wonderful human being. For anybody who's listening, and maybe you don't listen to any of the younger YouTubers, I have to say True Geordie is just a gent and a joy, and if you can listen to him, please do. I know that's only going to increase his listening area by about one person, but genuinely every number counts, and he's a great guy. But I do have a few other celebrities who are going to come on, including him. But we also just want to speak to real people, just normal human beings like me and Pete, you know, people who just go about their daily business and have amazingly extraordinary, ordinary lives, because everybody's life is extraordinary. It really is. Yeah. And we want to encourage anybody who feels that they could contribute and have got a story to tell to get in touch with us. I have got some quite serious people coming on as well. There are going to be a few people who've had serious issues around abuse and serious issues around domestic problems. And I do want to introduce that whole aspect and dynamic. So whilst we do try to have quite a lot of fun on making sense of it, and I think that our primary instinct is to try to keep things as light as possible, because you live in a serious world and we've all got our problems, but there are issues that inevitably are incredibly close to my heart, and the more we talk about them, the more we get them out there, then the more permission-based there is for other people to talk about their own issues and their own problems, you know, from mental health to sexual abuse to sexual exploitation to prostitution to all the areas that I think affect our society. You know, we welcome anybody who has their own stories. Please don't feel like because you might not be in the public eye, we are not interested in you. It could not be further than the truth. People make stories. Everybody's lives are full of them. And if you have a story to tell and you want to share that with us, please do get in touch with us. Subscribe to our channel, of course, please. Making sense of it. It's really important. And you can follow me on any of my handles. It's Emma Kenny TV. Pete is at Dusted Media.
Yes, at Dusted Media, or at Mr. Pedros as well.
Or at Mr. Pedros. But like I said, get in touch, keep in touch. I hope you've enjoyed listening, and join us next week for Making Sense of It. Podcast number 10.
Oh, it's our anniversary.
Is it our anniversary next week?
Podcast number 10 is our 10th anniversary.
I was like, what, is it our anniversary?
Oh, that's not till November.
July, though, when we got together?
Yes, yeah.
So nowhere near.
Nowhere near. It's the podcast's
near.
10th anniversary. Hey.
I think we had our first connection in April, though.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Anyway, that's a good note to end it on. Have a good week.